Welcome to the world we live in, the dream. All right, welcome everybody to season 3, episode 10 of the Neutral Zone. And folks, today is probably going to be, I'm going to go on record here, Stomps. This is going to be the greatest episode that we've ever recorded, that the millions and millions of viewers have ever watched. And we are going to get so many subscriptions after this episode that YouTube is probably going to give us a personal phone call. I'm serious. The amount of content we have today is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Let's get started. Stomps, what do you got? Do you got anything to say, Stomps?
Happy President's Day. One and all.
Perfect. Well, you know what? That is exactly how we're going to start off here today. We're going to wish everybody a very happy President's Day. Hail to the Chief. Wishing you, oops. Oh my God. Wishing you a happy President's Day. Wishing you a happy President's Day and a relaxing weekend too. Sending you warm wishes on this President's Day. Enjoy, my fellow Americans. Happy President's Day. A prayer for unity on President's Day. Stop.
That's a big no-no what you just did there.
Which one?
Our audience knows how to read. You don't read your slide. You embellish, you build on it, you say some other things.
Well, I wanted to read this slide because it's so important that I didn't want to get it wrong. But anyways, speaking of presidents, we know that in the last 48 hours, former President Jimmy Carter has been shifted into hospice care in his home. We wanted to just thank him for everything he's done as a president. I think, Stomps, you brought to my attention the other night over dinner that he's done some real work with the community, right?
Habitat for Humanity. I mean, a lot of that work's happened post-presidency. But yeah, he's done a lot of good work in that area for sure.
Yeah, he's a survivor. Let's give him credit. He was one of the first major figures to get treated with immunotherapy for brain cancer using the Keytruda product. So, you know, it's an area that I'm pretty familiar with. So he's lived a great life. So we wish him and his family well and patience during this trying time.
And keeping this on hockey, he probably attended a few Atlanta Flames games back in the day.
I'm sure he did. Listen, special. Now let's shift gears to something that's a little more happy. Congratulations to Freddie Coletta and his family for the baptism of their daughter, which happened yesterday. Stomps, can you tell everyone what a baptism is?
It's one of the sacraments in the Christian or Catholic faith, if you will. Usually it happens when you're very young, but some people who are born again go through a baptism in a river or something like that. But usually the babies, it's in a church, and they pour a little water on the head.
Well, I hope, Freddie, you and your family had a great day, and wishing your family well and a life of prosperity, happiness, and health for your lovely daughter. Okay, Stomps. Today is going to be, like I said, action-packed. We are going to cover some current events, which we just started. We need to jump into the Wednesday Night League. I believe you should probably know the lineups yourself for the semis tonight. And then the finals will be played tonight for Monday night. We do want to talk a little bit about the Wednesday Night League. It's kicked off. I think they've played three weeks for that. Stomps, I would like to hear a little bit about what's going on in Schiller Park. And then the big part of the evening and a big part of this this podcast, we're going to be really diving into the Gentlemen's Club and the Pottstown team, which was recently announced. So we'll share those, the team, and some key important information for the players to be on the lookout for. And then I want to talk about what's coming up, a quick injury update, and then we'll have our Culinary Corner to close it off. But we cannot start until something that's very near and dear to my heart. Elon Musk. Can you believe he did it again? Since the CEO, Elon Musk, since 2019, he has only received a $23,076 salary. This guy is working for free. Can you believe it? He's working for free. The only reason he's even taken that money was because under California law, there's a minimum wage requirement. Elon Musk is such a man of tremendous values. I can't explain to you what this is. This is sheer corporate responsibility right there. Any thoughts?
I don't even want to go there, so I'll just keep it quiet for a little while.
Okay, listen. Last night I had the pleasure of attending the Hawks versus the Leafs in the United Center. I believe the final score was 5-3 for the Hawks. The Silverens were there, you can see on the bottom. And me and Adam were there as well. Silverens got the edge with the Hawks winning 5-3, but what an entertaining game. I mean, 3 goals for Kaner, right?
It's a throwback game for him. I wonder, could be a last hurrah here in Chicago.
Well, you must have been reading my mind. I wanted to ask you, Stomps, where do you think Patrick Kane will finish this season?
The rumor, I mean, a lot of people heard the Rangers rumor. That didn't happen. I think the asking price was too high. So the Rangers went and got some other pieces. And I've heard Dallas. You claim, I don't know if there's any validity to it, that he'd like to play with Austin Matthews and the Leafs.
I mean,
but I haven't heard that except from you.
well, listen, this show is based on facts, and you know the Maple Leaf media is very close to what's going on in the NHL circle. And yeah, I mean, I think he's wanted to be a line mate of Austin Matthews for a while. Can you imagine that top line of the Leafs? Austin Matthews, Patrick Kane, and Mitch Marner. Can you imagine that?
There's only one puck. No, I mean, it would be an incredible line, but so I mean, I don't know. I don't have a prediction really. I mean, and if he stays a Blackhawk for his entire career, that would be totally cool. But I don't know, the way he's been talking. I think he's more than open to the idea of moving on. So,
right.
It'll be
he's still an amazing talent, though. Amazing talent. I think he scored 6 goals this week. I mean, he was at 9 goals. Sorry?
He was mired and then but that's Kane, right? All of a sudden the floodgates open and he scores a bunch of goals.
Do you think he's auditioning for teams?
Who knows? I mean, he's always had a high level of play. This year has been a little down for, but he's still Kane. He's still a wizard with the puck, and a couple of those goals he scored last night showed he still has it for sure. So if he gets with the right team, he could be right back in the mix for a cup again, possibly. But I'm sure the Hawks, they're not going to just give him away. So,
he's got a big salary though, so I mean, it's not going to be as simple to move him. I think that's one of the concerns for the blue and white. It's that big contract that he has. If they're going to move him, they're going to have to retain a lot of that salary. But they should get some good picks for him. He's definitely got some great value. Listen, we're going to shift a little. We're going to shift gears and get back to hockey. There's something that I did want to talk about today, very briefly. Don't want to put you on the spot, but I do. There is somber news, right? Like this earthquake death toll in Turkey and Syria. I think as of this morning, I heard 46,000 in stomps. I don't know if you just heard, but they just got hit again a few hours ago with
Six
another.
point 6.4.
Yeah, so I had a feeling you'd know that. Can I just ask those? I'm going to put this in the comments section on the video. I found a legitimate website because you always got to make sure that when you're donating that you got a right website that's legitimately getting aid to the people. It's https / support.savethechildren.org. And then I'm going to send that on the link. So if anyone's able and they can donate, please do so. It's been really very sad to see the death toll continue to rise. And let's get back to hockey stomps. This is a very important topic that we're going to get to about the Monday Night League. So could you just share with everyone what's going on this evening with the matchups, and then maybe talk a little bit about if you can see the logo, there is a Toro there in the logo here on the screen. Could you talk to me a little bit about what's going on with the future of the Green Toros? What's happening? Where's this league going on Mondays? You have the best connection to that league than anybody.
I don't know about that. We've already covered the ground with the Toros. I don't want to beat a dead bull. It's just interesting that because you hear things. I heard part of the reason the Toros were removed from the Monday League was, there was some dissatisfaction over the fact that we had a lot of gentlemen's club players, and so they were playing on multiple teams, and then there were 7 teams, so there was a bye week. People didn't like that. And then what happened this session? You had all kinds of guys playing on multiple teams. I reffed the game. I believe it was black versus white. And the black team had a bunch of the yellow guys filling in. So you had guys out there. And I mean, as a ref, it was hard to keep track because you had 3 different colored jerseys going on out there. So, this idea that, we didn't like playing on multiple teams, that happened a lot this session. So that so much for that. But I guess right now, what time we got? We're at 6:30. So the puck must have just been dropped for yellow against Blanco Frijoles or the white team. And then at 7:30, we're going to have red against black. And then the winners will meet at 8:30. So,
What's your prediction?
Oh gosh. Just depends on, if both teams come with all their guys. I don't know. I don't have a dog in the fight. It's pretty even. I mean, I think it's a very even league overall. I wasn't there last week. Our green team got eliminated by the yellow team, and apparently Artie played tremendous in goal. So if he can continue doing that, he's got a chance to move his team through. Red against black, you got Rocco in goal for black. Red should be Bobby D if he shows up, if he's available tonight. I think he is. And that's a toss-up. I think it'll be a very, very nip and tuck game. So I don't know. Good luck to all the teams. And then, the word is that the snipers, I think, are supposed to be coming into the Monday League.
Oh, so a 7th team?
Well, exactly. And then here you go. You got an odd team again. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I mean, that's just what I've heard. And I'm all for, growing it. You want some young guys in, whatnot. What I would do, I know people wouldn't like this, but I mean, if you got a bunch of snipers guys that want to play, put them on different teams.
Yeah, maybe they want to play together, Stomps.
I understand that everybody wants to play with their friends and this and that, but get to know other people, play with other players, play against your friends. That's that's fun too, So I don't know. That's that's just armchair quarterbacking it. I mean, Lou does a good job. I mean, it's not like I'm making these decisions or whatever, but
Do you feel
whatever happens, happens, right? I think Monday it was kind of a draft thing. We put the teams together. I mean, it's when you look at the records of all the teams, it's pretty close. I mean, it's a good league, but inevitably, after a few sessions, we always try to tinker with things, and then it ends up things go south. So,
do you feel that your absence for the Green Toros last week contributed to their loss? And are you going to be having a meeting with management about your
we
travel schedule?
if I was there, we maybe would have lost by more.
No,
I
I
don't.
doubt that.
No, no, I don't know.
How did Dave Schmiel feel about his performance?
Eddie Urban missing is
Oh.
what was important. Not me. What would you say there?
How did Dave Schmiel feel about his performance?
Wow, that's a tough question you're throwing at me. Again, I was not there. I did not see it. I did not look at the video, Stevie's video stuff.
But you must have done some investigative journalism.
Dave's hard on himself. So
yeah.
That's what most people are, right? You're harder on yourself than maybe others would be, but
right. We're going to get into a little bit on Eddie Urban in a moment. Are you done with Monday? Did you give your prediction?
oh, I'm not predicting. I said who's playing, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, that's fine. That's a diplomatic way. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or burn any bridges. Okay. All right. So let's talk Wednesday night league. From left, death.
That's a great little slide there, Nav. I like that.
I had a feeling you'd like that. 4 teams on the Wednesday night league, a league that is characterized by parity, skill, talent, and perseverance, if you ask me. These are 4 teams that you don't know on any given night who can win the game. I have seen anything happen. I've seen one team lose 9-1 in the regular season, then come back and beat another team in the playoffs by 2-3 goals. Last week, for example, the A team lost to Death. I believe it might have been 7-2, and Billy Jacques was not at that game for goal for the Death. But the young guys came out and they performed. Those young guys on Death have a really good touch around the net. However, back to your earlier point, Eddie Urban not there for the A team. If Eddie Urban's there, he makes all the players around him better, and he gives anybody a chance to win. So Eddie Urban, I think you're on the mend. We're going to talk a little bit about injuries later. I'm going to apologize in advance because you're such a high-profile player that I didn't actually put you on the slide because I knew we were talking about you here. But your absence and your injury, and I think it's a foot injury if I'm not mistaken. Stomps, do you know anything about his injury?
That's correct. Foot injury.
Yeah. So
lower body.
Yeah, lower body. The A team really misses you. As soon as you're back, I'm sure the league will have once again that established parity. Dynamo faced the first place Pizza Bats, led by Mike Scalzitti and Joe Lodowick. Dynamo, led by Art Carpenter and myself, was an amazingly entertaining game. Went right down to the wire. We were down, I think, at 1.52 or 5-3. We came back, made it 5-4, but we just ran out of time, and the Pizza Bats got the victory and continue to securely hold that first place position. Just a couple of comments on this league. It's being currently run by Billy Jacques, and he likes to pass the credit off on to everybody else, that GM. So he's the GM in partnership with Frank Klein for Death. Like I mentioned, Dynamo is Art Carpenter and myself. Pizza Bats is Mike Scalzitti and Joe Lodowick. And the A team is Dave Wagner and Stevie J. The reason I'm just listing this out is because many of you have asked, because some of the roster sizes are very large. Many of you have asked what's happening with the 5th team. Well, the truth is that we had some recruitment efforts for a 5th team that looked really good. And then a couple of guys started dropping, and then they lost some players, and Death struggled a little bit with getting back some players. They lost a few players, so we had to stick it stick it at 4. But the plan is to continue to expand. My view might be a little different. I think we'll probably go another session after this with 4, because a lot of guys start playing softball, and then attendance goes down. And it already seems like Wednesday is a harder evening, or a harder evening for people to commit to. Clearly, with Stomps' coverage of Monday, we're talking 7 teams potentially. We're trying here to get 5. So we continue, and I got to say, this is a real resurrection of the Wednesday Night League. It is truly exciting to be part of and watch. The bar is full. People are there. We're talking about the games. They're so intense that the caliber of talent is off the charts, Stomps. Off the charts.
Sounds like I haven't seen any of it.
Well,
love the logos. I think your team you have the big D on there for a reason other than Dynamo, but we won't mention that. I think it's your favorite letter.
Hey, we would love to have you on the team. You have an open invitation.
Appreciate that.
Okay, Stomps, what's going on with this Schiller Park on Sunday? Be brief. This is not top news.
It's fun hockey while Woodridge is in hiatus. It's inside a gym playing with the orange Milek puck, which is a return to my roots of playing a lot of the gym floor hockey with the puck. In fact, I played at that very facility at Schiller Park in 1989-90 when they had leagues back then. It was always Tuesday night leagues. And, the Sunday thing is just kind of it's invitation. It's pretty much everybody's over 50 years old. So, it's more my speed, if you will. But I love it, man. It's fun. Good guys. No headaches. Throw together a couple of teams. One wears dark, one wears white, and off you go. And we play for about 90 minutes.
Wow, it's great exercise.
Yeah, we take breaks, throughout, but it's fun. You didn't have on your slide, I just wanted to mention that, Carroll Stream is still ongoing. The Woodridge team, the Monsters, they beat up on us Bearcats a couple of weeks ago. We get our chance to get back at them tomorrow night in a doubleheader. But they have a really good team. But it's a much better league, Carroll Stream, than last session. I mean, it's much, much better. So, yeah, so that's it. Yeah,
Who are the
Schiller's good.
goalies at Schiller Park?
Goalies, it really depends. I think first dibs usually go to Bobby D and Dave Wagner, but we've had Chris Hay out there. We've had a guy named Mike, and I don't know Mike's last name, but he's a lefty goaltender. He plays. Not sure who else. Roger actually was pressed into duty a few weeks ago to play goal, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's what it should be, right? Fun.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it and you're getting something on Sunday night. I understand that unlike Woodridge, you guys typically like to go out for breakfast after the games. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. No breakfast yesterday, but usually we take the short 100-foot walk down Irving Park Road to Al and Andy's. It's a little greasy spoon, if you will.
Pancakes or eggs? What do you get?
The All-American Skillet, which features some eggs, some corned beef hash. I think there's some hash browns in there. And you can get a side of toast with it or pancakes.
You certainly should tell me more about this place, and we'll feature it on the Culinary Corner later on. All right. Okay, this is the top news, right? Like this episode is anchored on this news. Stomps, do you want to cover this? Do you want me to cover this? How do you want to cover this topic? which is current events for the Gentlemen's Club, an in-depth analysis on the team that was selected to participate in the Pottstown tournament, which starts on March 31st. And I believe it goes in through April 2nd or April 3rd, one of those dates. So how do you want to cover it? Should you want to go through the lineups? I would like to share a little bit about what's happening with the practices so that people just continue to check the app and stuff. But how do you want to do this? Do you want to do the team first, or you want to do logistics? I can do logistics.
Yeah, why don't you kick things off? Because I'm kind of divorced from this pretty much, but I've got some thoughts like anybody else would, and you
All
can
right.
color,
Okay.
color that in. I can ask you for some questions and that kind of thing.
Perfect. Okay, good. And I will, I may not be able to answer them all, but let me just give a couple of housekeeping items, right? So the team was selected and communicated last week. I believe it was last Monday or Sunday, sometime within the last 7 to 10 days. Basically, there will be a team meeting this Wednesday, right after the league games at Palatine, where they're going to be where the management will just kind of talk about what to expect at the tournament. There is going to be a practice coming up this Saturday at 8 a.m. And I believe the practice is, what's that outdoor venue? Stomps, we played there once. Used to live near there, or the area. It's escaping me. I could
outdoor venue. Where about?
I think it's near. No, I can't believe it. I know where it is.
That's the one in Norwood Park, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
because there's a rink right by Taft High School.
It's right, Norwood Park outdoor rink. There's
right
practice
right off the Kennedy Expressway, right there off I-90.
That's it. There's a practice this Saturday, February 25th at 8 a.m. So we only have 13 people that have confirmed on the app. So if you're pending, please check the app or put your notifications on the app, because there's going to be a lot of things happening on the app. So make sure you attend the meeting on Wednesday if you can. And then, of course, I think the practices are going to be imperative for everyone to get to play together. Obviously, if you have additional questions, you can reach out to Frank, and he'll be able to tell you more details. I think he's also trying to figure out the schedule, which should be coming up shortly. And there's a possibility there could be a game on Friday, March 31st. Book your hotels now. They're getting taken, and the prices are going up. When I booked my hotel, I noticed the price went up in 5 minutes. The league fees are $50, and you got to pay Frank to guarantee your spot through either Venmo or Zelle. And then you also have to register with USA Ball Hockey. So finally, Stomps, why don't you go through the list of the forwards and the defense and the goalie? And then, again, I can help answer some of the questions as I've attended 1 or 2 practices, but that's all. Go ahead.
You just want me to read through the names?
Yeah, go through the forwards and the defense, and then we can talk a little bit about the players.
At the forward position, we have Frank Klein, who's, of course, run the show pretty much for a number of years now. Our favorite Edmontonian, Chris Sheets, power forward. Dan Bruner, Philly's finest, still hurting from his Super Bowl defeat. Sean Dennison from the capital of Canada, Ottawa. Scotty Tuhati Leclaire. Mike Rarat, who hasn't been around of late, but we could talk about that more. The great Mike Sabatini, who shares a birthday with yours truly. Freddie Coletta, who we already talked about earlier in the show. Greg Bukowski, Buffalo's finest. So one of your rivals there for Toronto, of course. Tommy Broughton, ex-Raider, ex-teammate, ex-Toro teammate as well. Brian Ganutek, veteran, another former Toro. And Stevie J, another former Toro, also a teammate of mine on the Bearcats and Carroll Stream. Defense, we have the great Chris Landowski Kelly, ex-Raider teammate. Matt Milkovich, tremendous D-man. Sean Frick, who I understand is also nursing a little injury right now. Great Lou Mangini, our Monday night general manager. Yourself, Nav Masood, Toronto veteran, bringing that Canadian pedigree to GC, which is needed. Tommy Marook, another fantastic teammate from the Toros fame. And Martin Landowski. Haven't played with Martin a whole lot, but we know he's got the pedigree in the family with his brother Chelly. And of course, William Jacques in the nets. So I guess my question to you, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but was that like to come up with this roster here? Was that a Frank thing, or was there a committee that was put together that kind of, because obviously, what do you got? How many players are there? How many roster players?
I think there's 19 plus 19? A goalie gets you to 20.
My eyesight's terrible, but
yeah,
okay,
19,
so you got 20.
20. That's the maximum roster size you could have, I believe.
But as I recall it, when it was open on the app to, they wanted people to sign up, I'm pretty sure there was more than 20, right?
Sure.
Probably not enough for a second team necessarily, but there was more than 20 as I recall it, because I kind of kept an eye on it.
Right. From everything I understand, the decision was made by a selection committee, and that selection committee, I guess, was appointed by Frank. And on that selection committee, from my knowledge, was William Jacques, Eddie Switek, Chris Landowski, Dan Bruner, and I think that's it. I think it was a total of 4 guys that worked very closely with Frank to make the ultimate determination of how the team would look. That's the only information I have.
So, I mean, what would you say? Like, who would be some notable absences from this list?
You tell me.
I mean, the one that jumps right out at me is Joe Gleason, given that, long time, he's been with the Gentlemen's Club pretty much throughout its relatively brief existence.
Right.
Bill Galanis is another guy that comes to mind. I'm sure there's people I'm not thinking of. Those jump out to me. I mean, I guess immediately.
Well, I mean, if you characterize the Joe Gleason, I mean, he has been around. Like when you do think of Gentlemen's Club, you'd think of Joe Gleason for sure. All I can say is I don't know how the decision was made, but I can tell you a little bit about his game from what I know, because I play with him on Mondays with GC, and he is a stalwart defenseman for us on Dynamo. He's put on in incredibly important situations. He logs big minutes. He plays on the power play with Chelly, and he's contributed a lot. Hockey IQ off the charts. Smart player. I respect sandpaper. Absolutely, I respect his game a lot. I think he's a great player, and I think the management, if you were to ask, or the selection committee, I believe they would say the same. I mean, I don't see how anything you've said or I said anyone can even argue or dispute that. Now, I mean, I'm not in the position to understand that tournament and what's needed. And when I look at the forwards, maybe there was reasons that they were motivated by, but I mean, that's how I see Joe Gleason. Bill Galanis, I played with him for a long time too. He's a veteran player. He knows the game. He's actually physically, I think he's gotten in good shape. He came out to one of the practices too. He's a veteran D as well. I mean, again, listen, I guess if you ask those guys, and that's again, it would be nice to have them on the show. can't take everybody, I guess, right? That's what they'll tell you. You can't take everybody. You got to make some tough decisions. I do think you ask or you state something that's kind of provocative up front about the possibility of having a second team, which I think happened 2 years ago when you were there. And I don't know if that should be off the table. Quite honestly, I think there's a lot of guys 37 and older and 40 and older, and some guys are pushing into their 50s that would really like to go to this tournament. And I know it's hard to manage two teams. And then what I've heard is, why are we going to travel to Pottstown to play a Chicago team? I don't think that happened 2 years ago, anyways.
Did not.
So, I mean, my humble opinion is I'd like to see two teams. I think it would be great to send 35 to 40 guys out there. If you can do it, I think it would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you have enough to fill out a second team. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Well, you did
And
that year, right? You did that year.
what, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to remember. I mean, we were kind of in the teeth of COVID, and I think there was a kind of a rally. That was almost like a rallying cry. The, people wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I really do. Yeah, the results weren't there. And I know there's some people that say we got to go out there to win, and I get that. Um,
Yeah.
it's. I think no matter what happens, you're going to end up with some people disappointed. Like if you had an A and a B team, and then there were enough guys for two teams, and then leadership said, so and so, you're going to play with the B team. They could be not just left off the team altogether, but if you got relegated to the B squad, they may not be happy either.
I mean, you're never going to make everybody happy, but here's just to clarify my points about two teams is I'm not suggesting that you have a second team running the risk of diluting the first. I think you always try to go to a tournament to win. You put your best foot forward. I think a couple of years ago, I think what was attempted was to have two strong teams put together. I think that A team was expected probably to be a little stronger than the B team. But in my conversations this past week with one of the players from GC, they did mention that B team that I believe you were on, Stomps, you guys had Keith and Ryan, and I heard those guys played off the charts. And those are two other notable absences to your point earlier. I don't know what their story is. I didn't see them at any of the practices either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. So,
I mean,
there's a lot we don't know, right? There's a lot we don't know.
yeah, I mean, I don't like armchair quarterbacking anything. I mean, I would just say maybe just, at the beginning, be upfront and say, look, here's our goal. We wouldn't mind having two teams go. We want one team that's going to be clearly the team we want to try and win this tournament, and then a secondary team. And perhaps, if it ends up that we don't have enough for two teams, and we definitely have enough for one, but there's a few more guys, right, than we can accommodate on a single team. There's going to be some decisions that would be made. I mean, I don't know. It's so easy to hindsight on these things.
Right.
I just think communicate. As long as you communicate with people, you're upfront. You're letting people know their status or whatever. That's always the best thing, I think, at the end of the day. But I mean, it looks like a pretty good team from what I'm seeing.
Well, that's the part I wanted to spend a little bit more time on before we advance to the next topic. I think if you look down the middle, right, like the strength in these tournaments, I always believe like down the middle is one of the most important things. So if you look at the center position, my understanding based on these forwards, if I was scouting this team, I would probably think that Frank, Mike Sabatini, and Greg Bukowski would be your three centers. And then you have
Give me that again. Sabo, Greg, and who?
and Frank. I look at those as your three centers.
Okay.
I think you have a combination of three things going on there, right? Like you have three centers who know how to play the position, good two-way players, good knowledge of the game. Of the three, I'd say Frank has probably got the most offensive prowess, probably the better of the three in terms of playmaking. So I'd kind of slot him into that number one spot. And I think Sabatini's just strong on draws. I mean, there's probably no one else as strong on draws outside of Steve Grass, who I think is the greatest draw man in Palatine history. And then third, you have Greg Bukowski, and I had the pleasure of playing with him on Venom, played with him on the Avalanche, played with him on GC, played with him in the most recent tournament. Just effortless player, reminds me a lot of Joe Thornton, has a great reach, good strides, amazing wingspan. And then, of course, you go through the wingers, Stomps. Dan Bruner and Sean Dennison, what can you say about those two guys?
Well, I was going to stop you there because, I mean, there's 12 guys there. So technically, you've got enough for 4 lines, but you only gave me 3 centers. So is that the plan to just play 3 lines? And what are the other 3 guys doing?
I'm not going to speculate. I think that's a question for Frank to answer. Maybe that'll be something that comes up at the meeting because, yeah, there are 12 forwards there. You're absolutely right. And you have 12 pretty good forwards there, guys who can hold their own. I don't know too much about their status and where they'll play. I also know, to your point, Brian Ganutek can play center, and he has played center a lot. There's another guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and that reminds me, actually, another guy I did mention his name moments ago is Steve Grass is another guy who he could qualify for this team if he was interested. He's another guy that I didn't see come to the practices. So yeah, I don't know. There's 12 there. Maybe we roll 4. Maybe Frank's put in a buffer in case there's injuries. There's always going to be injuries, right? You could see anywhere from 2 to 4 guys drop, right?
hey, when we went a couple of years ago, first shift, Scott LeClaire got hurt. First or second shift. It was early, very early in the first game, and he couldn't play the rest of the tournament. I know there was another injury or two that I'm not remembering, but you got guys that are hurt right now, quite frankly. So
yeah, and we're gonna get to that.
I don't know what their status is going to be come tournament time,
right.
But it's pretty much at this point, it's right around the corner. I mean, it's about 5 weeks away. So
yeah, people are gonna have to heal up. Obviously, Chris Sheets, like you said earlier, a Canadian. He's a great playmaker, smart player. Dan Bruner, proven goal scorer. Sean Dennison, great shot from the off wing. Scott LeClaire, again, another strong, big body. Mike Raritt, I would characterize him as a power forward.
Yeah, he's definitely a power forward.
Yeah. And then, of course, skipping over to Freddie Coletta, which is the engine of any team. GC missed him terribly in that final game. He's the kind of guy that just keeps bringing it. So hopefully he's healthy. And then it's good to see Tommy Broughton on there. He's another guy that's versatile. He can play forward. He can play D. Great shot, left-handed shooter. And then Stevie J, speed. I think the defense, I mean, if they shoot, I think they look good. I think Chelly's, clearly heads and tails above a lot of defensemen in this age category. Matt Milkovich, which I'd like to see at some of the practices, and I'd like to see him healthy. Sean Frick is another guy,
sure.
Speedy defenseman. Lou Mangini, veteran on GC. I think he might have been the founder of the name of GC, as well as, like you said, the commissioner. He's got a deceptive shot. Myself, I'm hoping to contribute as well. My first time out there. Not my first time out there completely, but my first time in this tournament. And then Tommy Maruk, another veteran player with a great shot. And then Martin Landowski. I don't know too much about his play, but and then obviously, come on, we have Billy Jacques who can steal multiple games in that.
So it doesn't look like they're bringing a second goaltender.
No, the
You know,
good thing about that goaltending position right now, I don't see a backup goalie, and it's kind of tough, right, with a short tournament. Like I think the round
yeah,
robin is 2 games, and then you jump right. If you bring a second goaltender and he's going to only play as a backup, he might only get 1 game at most, maybe one of the round robins. But then you're going to give the helm to the number one goalie, right, for the playoffs.
of
I think
course.
I've heard some rumblings that Lou may bring his equipment, but I don't know. I mean, again, this is not based on any facts. Do you have any other questions about this roster, about this team?
Well, it's definitely different than the tournament team, meaning the Palatine tournament from last month. There's a lot of different faces on this roster for sure.
Yeah,
In GC, we know you went to the finals in that tournament, and like you said, Freddie was out, and you guys lost in overtime. But a little bit of a different makeup to this squad here.
yeah, that's a great point. I mean, especially if you look at the forwards, like the only main returning guys from that tournament to here is Dan Bruner, Sean Dennison, Sabatini, Freddie, Greg Bukowski, Brian Ganutek, 6 out of 12. So 50% of the forwards were in that tournament. And then the defense is basically Sean Frick, Lou, myself, 3 of the 7D. So
Tommy Maruk didn't he play on
no,
the?
he did not play in GC for GC at the annual Chicago Ball Hockey Classic, Legends Hockey. He was not on that roster.
Oh, he played on our Warriors team, didn't
Right.
he? Yeah.
We could have used them though. We could have
Yeah.
used them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No. Okay, I'm remembering
Yeah,
now.
we could have used them. We could have used him, Steve Gratz. There's a lot of guys that I think are really great contributors to this Masters division. So that's it, Stomps. I'm excited about this roster. I think it looks good. I think it looks solid. I think I can't wait to get out there and get ready for this.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys will have a good time. It's very enjoyable.
Let's switch gears over to the league called the Glencoe Dek Hockey League, which is glencoedekhockey.com, operated and managed and owned by John Scully. He recently posted registration for the 2023 spring session in Glencoe. The link is www.glencoedekhockey.com/secure/home.php. Please click on that link. If you're following Scully on Facebook, he's also posted the registration information there, but you can find it on the glencoedekhockey.com website. Basically, the games will be played at Glencoe Dek Hockey at the Watt Center, which is located 305 Randolph Street in Glencoe, Illinois. I believe, Stomps, you played there multiple sessions. What do you have to say about this amazingly run league by John Scully?
Yeah, we know Scully does a great job. We interviewed him at the Palatine tournament last month, and I know they've done some renovations. That I think I've been ramped up, or will soon to wrap up, and I'm excited to see. I know they changed some things with the doors going in and off the rink, and some other things that John mentioned, but excited to see it. They use the salary cap. It's really modeled after the Iowa setup for 3-on-3 small rink deck hockey. Where you have a salary cap to determine, which division you're in. And, I think he's doing D2 and D4, if I'm not mistaken. I think
That's what
those
I
are the,
heard as well.
yeah. So it's I think games are going to be, it's going to be a mix of Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So yeah, it should be good. My only beef with it is how far I'm from it. that's the
Sure.
only that's the only issue I have. Otherwise, it's great. I enjoy it. It's a good venue.
I agree.
Up there. Yeah, we're up there. We're literally not far from Lake Michigan when we play these games. So that a lot of times that's a factor in the climate, the weather there, which is interesting. But yeah, it's fun.
I would just say that Scully puts a lot into this, as do the guys in Iowa who run that Quad City Deck Hockey tournament that happens
Right.
annually in August, as well as their leagues throughout. These guys run a really tight ship between Scully and these guys out in Iowa. I have to give them a tremendous amount of credit and respect. Even if you go to Scully's website right now, the way he's rated the players, I mean, undisputable in like 99.9% of the situations. I mean, they take their time. And I was talking to some of the guys from Quad Cities. You know what they actually do? They actually go on line and if there's a player they don't know about, they'll go research that player. They'll try to find video footage of him. They'll look at his or her stats. And they'll take this really seriously when they do those salary cap. And I guess Stumps, you're no stranger to that. You saw how they ran the salary cap, right? At that Iowa tournament. It's
Yep.
pretty. It's pretty. It's pretty methodical, isn't it?
I would say so. Yeah, seems like a fair way to do it. I mean, some people question the ratings, and but
I mean, you're always
because
gonna.
I just wonder if a lot of these leagues are going to go to that formula.
You think they, yeah, they might, and maybe ours will as well. But just, shout out to some of those guys in the Quad City, the Levesque brothers, Matthew, Patrick, and Nicola. These guys are running some really good things, and it's good to see them. And again, we saw them in Palatine a couple of months ago. So good luck to that. Good luck for that league, Scully. We'll also have you on the show in the coming weeks. Okay, let's talk injuries. So a couple of notable guys. One notable guy at least is missing on this slide, and that's Eddie Urban. But I want to go through these guys because all of them are facing some sort of injury. And I think I can talk about some of these in Stomps. You could probably talk about some of them as well. The sad part is a lot of these guys are Masters guys.
I don't even recognize half these pictures.
Well, obviously you can recognize Freddie Coletta on the left, right?
Yeah, what's his injury?
So Freddie Coletta is nursing a hamstring injury right now. I think he's probably improving, but last Monday he suffered a hamstring injury despite his best efforts at taking care of it. He is hopefully on the mend, but we need him healthy for that tournament. Wishing you a full recovery, Freddie. And then Chelly suffered a toe injury, a big toe injury. And we know it's not a broken bone, so that's good news. He suffered that. It'll be 2 weeks this coming Wednesday, and I think he just needed a couple of weeks of rest. So Chelly's on the mend. Sam Espinoza, I don't know if he's injured or not, but he hasn't been out on Wednesdays at all as a part-time player for Dynamo. He's wearing his Toros jersey there, but we haven't seen him. So either he's a healthy scratch or he's facing an injury. We don't know what that is, but I wanted to sort of bring him up on the slide. Sean Frick. Sean Frick is currently nursing a hamstring injury as well. I think he's made some effort to come back to return to play. However, I think he might have tweaked it again. And he's got to be ready for that Masters tournament too. He's an important player. Your very own Ganutek. Can you tell us a little bit about Ganutek's injury?
I honestly don't know. I could tell you this much. Tonight he is roughing all 3 games.
Oh, wow.
With Stevie J. So the fact that he can get out there and run and ref tells me at least it's not a lower body injury if he does indeed if he's still hurt. So I don't know that he is because he is officiating tonight.
Right. Well, I think I don't think I know. I thought you would have had a little bit more intel, but at the tournament, the Legends Hockey Tournament in January, I think he played a lot of games, and I think his knee blew up. So hopefully he looked good. I saw him the other day, last Wednesday. He looks like he's getting recovered. I think the fact that he's reffing is a good sign. He's another guy that we wish him well in a speedy recovery. Brian Ganutek with his knee. And then on the bottom left, because he's not on Facebook, it was hard to get a picture of Mike Scalzitti over there. And either that's Mike or someone who looks very much like Mike. Mike has missed, I think, the first 2, maybe 3 weeks of the Wednesday night league with a upper ankles, high ankle sprain. That's what they call it. I think it's kind of shifted, but we need to see him back. So he's an integral part of the Pizza Bats, and he's also a Woodridge player as well. Mike Rarrett, do you know anything about his status?
I honestly don't. Wasn't he also a lower body?
Yeah, his is a knee. I think his might not be a new injury. His might just be recovering from either a knee surgery or a knee injury. Raj.
Raj has that. It's like kind of like a quad injury / knee.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's recurring. He hurt it, tries to come back, hurts it again. So I don't know what his status is. I haven't talked to Raj in a long time.
Well, I believe 3 weeks ago he had surgery. He sent us the
he did.
images.
He had surgery?
Yeah, he did have surgery.
Well, speedy recovery to Raj then.
Yeah, but he hasn't been playing. I mean, yeah, we wish him a speedy recovery. Eddie Del Castillo, he suffered a hamstring injury last Wednesday in the Dynamo versus Pizza Bats game. So we wish him a recovery. I think he's a veteran who knows how to nurse an injury. The absence of 2 players on this slide, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the Eddie Urban injury since he plays on your team.
Again, I don't want to speculate because I haven't really talked to Eddie, but I know he was suffering from something similar to your, issues with the Achilles.
Oh, Achilles tendonitis, you think?
Possibly. I know it was bothering him. This is like 6-7 weeks ago, something like that. And then he missed like at least the last 5 weeks for our team on Monday. So
he's been coming to the rink though and watching some of the games. I think he was in a boot. I don't know if he was in a boot last week, but if anyone does have his Achilles tendonitis, there's 3 guys you can immediately talk to who I know that have suffered from this: myself, Lou Mangini, and Tommy Maru. There are ways around playing with the injury. However, it's a nagging injury and it could take several months for recovery, and it does impair you quite a bit when you're playing with that injury. Dante, what's Dante's injury status? How's his knee doing?
He's been feeling pretty well, but then a couple weeks ago he played at Carroll Stream, and I mean, he was just frank about it afterwards. He said he had no mobility. He was really having trouble. So he's on vacation right now, but so I don't know if he's going to just shut it down for a little while. He hasn't said.
Okay.
So it's just interesting. All these injuries are lower body. You notice that,
right?
I guess it's not a shock when playing ball hockey. Obviously running is paramount, and so that's not a surprise. But it's just interesting. A lot of hamstrings, knees, and ankles.
And I'm sure I'm missing guys here. I do know Brett Thunberg is not on this slide. We haven't seen him at the rink for quite some time, but I know that he was injured. I'm sure I'm missing people, and if I missed you, I apologize. Definitely not intentional. Well, we wish all these folks a speedy recovery, and the only advice I can have for you is take your time. All right. So let's get to the local favorites in the Culinary Corner here. So I have 3 restaurants, and they're all happen to be up in the North Shore area. These are 3 incredible restaurants that I frequent regularly. So let's start from left to right. This is for you, Tommy Maruk. I know you like this kind of cuisine, but Nuno Kebab is a Persian restaurant. Stomps, I know right now you're thinking of the Iron Sheik, and to see if you can go get an autograph signing there. That recently opened up on 244 Green Bay Road in Highwood, Illinois. I've been there already twice in the past 3 weeks. Just amazing food, just incredible Persian food. Give it a try if you're ever up in the area of Highwood. Number two is the Port of Perry Perry. I don't think this is too far from Tom Broughton. It's in Buffalo Grove on 1663 North Buffalo Grove Road in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. And then finally, Stomps, I wanted to make sure you were happy with this last pick. It's Bella Via Italian cuisine, located in a town that suffered some loss recently. So I'd like to highlight the fact that if you can please support any restaurant or business in Highland Park, Bella Via is located at 1899 2nd Street in Highland Park, Illinois. Those are the three culinary corner cuisines that we're showcasing this week. Stumps, you want to add anything?
I'll give you a couple in Naperville. Bangkok Village for some fine Thai cuisine, and Crosstown for wings, tremendous wings.
Okay, let's do it. We got to do it. We had our most recent neutral zone dinner outing event at Bangkok Village, which was integral to the planning of this episode. So you tuned in today to season 3, episode 10 of the Neutral Zone. I believe we have provided you with the ultimate in sports entertainment this evening. We covered a vast array of topics. I'm sure I missed something. Obviously, Ryan O'Reilly coming to the Leafs is a big signing. Who was that other player?
Vladimir Tarasenko.
Tarasenko to the Rangers, right?
That's right.
As we close this show, Stomps, who looks good for the Stanley Cup this year?
Oh God. I'm surprised that Dallas is on top of the West. See, they're doing very well. I like Carolina Hurricanes. I really like that team, but they never seem to get really far in the playoffs. Similar to a team that's near and dear to your heart.
Right.
It's the parity. They go for the parity. What do you think about this call to go back to the old method in the playoffs, where one plays 8 in the conference instead of playing within your division? What would you think of that?
I would love that. I would welcome that. I think the way it's set up right now, it penalizes the teams that do well. I think I really do. I think the teams that finish in that second and third slot end up facing each other, and every single year. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Leaf fan and we continually get eliminated by either the Boston Bruins or the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're always like, we could finish second or third in the NHL and still face the third place team in that conference. And so we'll likely play the Tampa Bay Lightning, which two-time Stanley Cup champions in the last few years. They went to the Stanley Cup last year. They lost to the Colorado Avalanche. So, I mean, yeah, I don't like the setup. I like the 1 versus 8. But listen, I'm a little bit more of old school. Like, I even like the Norris division, the Smythe, the Adams. I love those types of setups. I believe the rivalries in the NHL are nowhere near the way they were before. What do you think?
Nah, it's not even close.
Yeah.
But again, they're trying to get this parity, parity. So I would like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing it go back to the old way.
Yeah.
Wanting state. Because I think these teams that kind of middle around and then they just make the playoffs. They make sure they're healthy down the stretch. They get momentum going in. They don't finish really high, but you can ride a hot goaltender a long way in that hockey playoff. So I love it. I mean, no matter what they do, it's superior from a playoff standpoint to any of the big sports. Maybe the beautiful game. you know, as is comparable, but it's I love the first round of the NHL playoffs. I think it's the greatest. You know, you got games every night across all these time zones, so you can watch all the different games. It's great.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm hoping that we get back to that kind of format. Stomps, any closing comments to all your fans?
Well, just thank you for tuning in. We enjoy it. Hit the like button, as we like to say. Subscribe, and we apologize that maybe the show has not been on a regular schedule of late, but obviously a lot of content tonight, so hopefully everybody finds it well worth it.
Yeah. And we'll try to put, I mean, I don't want to make promises we can't keep, with your busy travel schedule, my busy travel schedule, our family commitments, family values,
That's right.
all those important things get in the way of the most important thing, which is hockey. But we want to thank you for all your support. Like Stomp said, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, support our channel, share it with your family, your friends, and your respective leagues. Whether it's Glencoe Dek Hockey, Quad Cities, Palatine Monday, Palatine Wednesday, Schiller Park, Woodridge,
Carol Stream.
Carol Stream. Please just support us as best as you can. We appreciate it. With that, we're going to close. Thank you for tuning in to Season 3, Episode 10 of The Neutral Zone. Please remember to check the comments section for any important links. I'll be posting the Dek Hockey registration in the comments section, as well as a way you can donate to the Turkey and Syrian earthquake victims. Thank you very much, Stomps. It's always a pleasure being your co-host and working alongside with an esteemed professional fact checker like yourself. Now,